Ayer Sounds.
Happy Devil's Tuesday. I almost forgot the day. But hello, New Jersey. This is real New Jersey. Yeah, it's just one of those days, Chris, when you're just home all day. You're working from home. You're just doing things, and you just got to do a podcast, and subject matter is on your, on your mind. But anyway, I am Sam Wu here with my buddy Chris Havlock, who I haven't talked to in about 10, 12 years. I figured I should give him a call and ask him, do you prefer inline hockey or ice hockey? Because we both of us have played both. Chris, I will let me toot your horn a little bit. Chris used to play professional inline hockey in the Piha League. If I remember correctly, I was part of that phase as well, but I never got into a game. I was just listed on the roster. So just to formalize that, I was a minor league professional inline hockey player. But I've had this discussion before in the past. I haven't had it in a while. Inline or ice hockey, there is a big difference, but there's not. I'll pose that question to you, your preference. Do you like inline hockey or do you like ice hockey better?
So for me, I came from playing ice hockey up until I was just ice hockey until I was about 20 years old. And then I made the transition over. So for me, it was, I think I still love ice hockey. I will always love ice hockey. And I think, it's always my favorite to play, especially in the, in the winter, getting out in the pond and stuff now. But, roller hockey, when I finally decided not to skate in college for ice hockey and moved over to roller, it gave me a lot more opportunity to travel. Met a ton more people, took me around the country. And it ultimately, it fast tracked me a little bit more into, I ended up with sponsorships and stuff from roller, not ice hockey. So it opened a few more doors for me, roller hockey, but I think in the end, ice hockey is always going to be my love. And there's things I miss about it, like, laying out a good hit, just the sheer speed and everything of the game too. But there's differences, for roller hockey. I mean, I think roller hockey is a lot harder on the body, especially when you get into those physical games, because you don't slide the same way that you do on it. And it's a lot more taxing on your legs too. I think, the resistance is there. So I think there's definitely some aspects that are much harder in roller, but also obviously much harder in ice hockey too. So.
Absolutely. When I first got into ice hockey, you try to do something in the summer, and Mike Rossi writes in the Facebook Live, in the summer, inline hockey, outside, winter, ice hockey. growing up in New Jersey when the first rollerblades came out. Remember how like bulky they were, and you try to find like a barn somewhere with a flat surface, and then you got your wooden Sherwood stick or True Play stick, and everything was so heavy and clunky. And then that stupid brake in the back of the rollerblades, because they're meant for really like California rollerblading, down the beach.
The boardwalk. Yep.
Yeah. and it's just nothing like putting on ice skates. You can cut a lot easier with ice skates. You can slide. It's kind of like physics as well. It's like, okay, if you take a tumble, you get hit. On ice, you can slide. It gives way. Taxing on the body is really inline hockey, because sometimes you hit the surface, although the surface is smooth. No, you just there's no give. It's like boom. It's like on concrete, kind of like the old artificial turf back in the 80s. Now artificial turf, the way they design grass. I believe you're a horticulture major, aren't you, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
I don't know why I remember that. It's because probably I used to profile you when you were playing in Piha. Oh, Chris, what do you do? Oh, I cut down trees, something like that. But it's amazing how I'm remembering all this stuff. I feel like I'm back in 2004 or 2005 setting up the games for you guys. But anyway, so, and then did you actually find when playing ice hockey when you were younger that doing dryland exercises, they weren't as fun, but did inline actually help your game in any way? Because I feel like you're using different core muscles with your legs, your ankles, and all that.
So when I was seriously involved in ice hockey, I actually didn't play much roller hockey. Definitely no organized like real, like the travel or anything like that. It was more just screwing around in a friend's driveway on a Saturday to play. We all did that, and the occasional summer league out on the asphalt over in Mountain Lakes here. But we kind of avoided the roller hockey aspect because the one thing that I noticed personally was shooting was so different. The weight of the puck really screwed you up, at least for me. And I know a few other guys mentioned that as well. But so I actually avoided it. But if you look at it now, between all of the tournament series like Narch and Tours and all of those, the sheer number of kids that come in that are truly ice hockey players, come in, play some roller. They're in the NHL now. I mean, you're looking at guys like Bobby Ryan, there's a ton of them. Chris Terry, Brandon Peary. Like, there's so many that made played between both. And I think a lot of that comes down to roller hockey really helps with the finesse game. So while I didn't, I know there's so many guys that did that transition between the two.
Oh, yeah, and Mike Rossi also, it took me a while to get used to the ice hockey stops in roller hockey. Yeah, it's like you almost about to snap an ankle because you're trying to do it that way, and you realize there's no give. It took me a while to figure out how to stop after doing ice hockey for many years, and then I realized it's almost, and I'll use an analogy that a friend told me. Now, this friend actually owns inline hockey league, and he played both ice and inline, and we both said we love ice, but for whatever reason inline, its culture is similar to skiing and snowboarding. Would you agree with that? Right?
Absolutely.
The total culture. Yeah,
it's a complete counterculture. I mean, what you see is just right down to the attire that you see. You look at an NHL jersey right behind you with the Devils, flat colors, clean lines. You look at a roller hockey tournament now. I mean, some of the jerseys, you've got pink with starbursts and you name it. I mean, anything under the sun goes. It's almost comical, some of the jerseys that you see. But there's definitely a counterculture to roller hockey. I would totally agree that it has that vibe of a snowboarder skiing kind of culture.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you what's bankrupt our country. Believe it or not, there's hockey tape, which is thin, and then there's roller hockey tape, which is thick. And we used to go to the U.S. Postal Service and absolutely steal the packaging tape at the U.S. Postal Service. No, I shouldn't say steal because that's a government property. We were long-term leasing this U.S. Postal Service packaging tape and wrap it around our gear. And the gear is a little bit different too, because you don't really, I mean, some players didn't wear shoulder pads in inline where, and I guess with inline, less is more with your pads versus, ice hockey, you've got your girdle, you've got, you still have your shin guards. I mean, some of the stuff I use with both ice and roller, or inline. So, some of it can transition, but I mean, the elbow pads, I mean, some of these guys, I mean, you were one of them. You guys were like crazy thin, just the finesse game, inline, because, it's only light checking, if you want to call it that. Whereas in ice, it's like you can just pound somebody on the boards. You could do all sorts of stuff. So it is a different game, and also blocking shots in ice hockey is so much more fun than in inline, because inline, it's kind of like you had to bend down to do it, because you didn't want to like hit the surface because there's no give.
Like slide, you don't want to slide. Yeah. But also, just like you were saying, the lack of gear that you have. Like, if I look at the girdle that I wear now for roller hockey as opposed to what I wear for ice hockey, there's a reason why when I play with like Shorts guy in draft league and stuff, I tell him, listen, man, I'm getting out of the way. You're wearing all the pads for a reason. He's got that shot. I'm not getting in front of that thing.
but and Shorts guy just answered inline in the Facebook Live group, and it's like, somehow the goalies still wear their pads in inline. Like,
and it's interesting, by the way, for Shorts guy to say, as a goalie who's played both, and he's a very good goaltender, for him to say he prefers inline, because the biggest gripe that all the goalies have is they can't slide. Their side to side motion is so much more difficult. I mean, I know they've got things like the slide pads and stuff now to help them a little bit, but most goalies, especially when they transfer over from ice, they absolutely hate roller hockey.
Oh, absolutely. So now, I don't know how old you are. Now you're a real adult now. You're past your 20s now. Yeah, I don't want to mention your age, but I'm definitely older than you. So I'll just mention my age. I'm 41. Believe it or not, people don't realize that I'm 41, even though I act like a 2-year-old half the times. Well, that's what my wife always says. But anyway, so now that you're older, do you prefer inline or ice hockey, like on your body, or is it? What do you play now?
I play roller hockey Tuesdays and Thursdays, religiously. Well, used to be until this thing hit us, but So I stick strictly to roller hockey. I think a lot of that also stems from the friends that I have in Morristown that I still skate with. Tom Bowers being one of those that put together the Revolt hockey team. It's been weird. I played one tournament over the winter with the guys, but it was weird getting back into it after being out of the pro level for so long. But I'd say roller hockey is my preference at this point now. It's just I think
easier.
I think a lot of it is definitely easier. It's also a hell of a lot cheaper when you actually want to break down the monetary.
I was about to say that, yeah.
But yeah, I prefer roller hockey now. But I will always get out on the pond when the ponds freeze. Always go and play some pickup ice hockey. So,
yeah, I mean, sometimes every once in a while, in the blue moon, I'd be outside. I'd take a piece of plywood, put it down on the driveway, and just shoot like the old days. But usually it used to be like I would take maybe 1,000 shots. Now I just take one just to see if I still got it. And I still have my radar gun as well, to see what I can clock. And of course, back in the day, there were ways to kind of rig it to get that number higher if you point it a certain way. It's like, oh yeah, I got a 78.1 mile per hour slap shot. There you go. And back in the day, I mean, I used to shoot, a roller hockey puck. Those things were just like on concrete. They would after like 2 or 3 times, they would just like crack open. They're not really meant. Yeah, they split apart. But it was great though if you're trying to like impress a girl, and you knew that, that puck had its like last leg, and then you would shoot it and it'd break apart. Be like, yeah, that always happens to me. I hate when that happens. And then you shoot pucks. Like my parents' garage to this day hasn't been fixed, but there are like hockey like dents in the sheetrock. Like it's still there. And like how many like doors and basements have been ruined by kids just shooting. Now, let me ask you this: did you do anything to try to help your shot in terms of shooting? Back in the day, did you rig a contraption? Because I got a story for you.
Oh, well, I absolutely did. So, and I used to get yelled at all the time by my dad too, because I shoot towards the garage. But I would, they have like the shooting targets and stuff, but they'd always break constantly because they're always the cheap plastic. But so my dad would rig like these like metal piped ones so that I could shoot at those, and he would rig them into the net for me. So I was always firing away at those things. Anyone listening to this right now will tell you didn't do a damn thing because all I ever do is shoot high. Back then, when I was a bit more accurate, that definitely helped out a lot. But I definitely put out the a few windows over at my parents' house when I was younger.
Yeah, my good friend Bill Clement actually told me this, that when he used to, how he got a shot. Now, he grew up poor in Quebec. It was actually part of the minority group because he was English speaking. And he would actually, like in the back of a barn, he would hollow out a rubber hockey puck and fill it with lead, and just kept on shooting. Yeah, shooting a broadside of a barn. That's how he built his strength up.
Wow.
And now I kind of want to try that. Like, it's like, does that really work? Yeah, heavier puck, whatever. I mean, a lot of it. I mean, nowadays, back then, I love the Bauer Supreme wooden sticks because they were the cheapest. They were like solid wood, and I hate to say it, I always liked the Eric Lindros blade on them. And then if you remember the 2-piece Easton sticks, the T-Flex, the T-Flex, and there was those are great sticks. The Sackett blade.
I remember the Z bubble from Easton was the stick. Yes. I mean, that was the one I wanted.
And then everybody had to get a Synergy stick. And remember when it came out, it was like $300. They're still expensive, but that at the time, it's like it's not $29.99. It's like wow, but you use the same stick for both inline and ice. And I remember at the rink at the Morristown, what's it called now? It used to be Instant Replay. It was Morristown? Inline Morristown. You watch these like teenagers, and I coach a couple of these, little kid leagues, but they were really like the 14-year-olds leagues. So they had like adult sticks, but they had to kind of like chop it down a little bit. And when they break, and all these rich kids, right? They leave their sticks. I used to like take them. I used to take them and just saw it down, be like, oh, I'll just have like a little Synergy stick, and you have like 5 or 6 of these, right? And let me tell you, and I'm going to go a little bit sidetracked here, and this is why I don't coach hockey anymore. Number one, I don't like to deal with the parents because I'm politically incorrect to begin with. So dealing with parents and kids, and I'm very old fashioned. Like I want to teach the kids teamwork and the game, while every parent nowadays think their kid's going to be Wayne Gretzky, the next great one, right? Yeah. But one of the things in Morristown, and I'll say this, and I don't know if I should be saying this, but coaching inline 14-year-old kids from Morristown way back when was very interesting because they were all, in Morristown High, once you get to that freshman year, let's just say that it's a very colorful incoming class. And you get these like rich kids that learn a lot of things from other kids that they shouldn't be talking about. And they bring that rambunctiousness to the locker room, the feistiness, because, some kids in Morristown, they like to brawl back in the day. And then you mix that in with a bunch of, rich kids, on the other side of Marston. Suddenly you got a rich kid that likes to brawl, and then they were just so impossible to handle. And then on top of that, you got the parents that were literally screaming at you why their kid didn't get in the game. It's like, I don't know, because he punched the other kid. But we're getting off topic right now, and I probably shouldn't have said that, but that's the reason why I can't coach ice hockey, and plus I've been thrown out of ice hockey games when I'm yelling at, certified USA hockey refs, that don't know the rules. Forget about bad calls; they just don't know the rules. And suddenly, but they know the rule to throw the unruly fan that knows the rules. At one point did take the test on half of this crap. Just for extra money back in the day. But anyway, so we're getting off topic, but. So for me, nothing beats. Hockey's hockey to me, but nothing beats the smell of ice before the Zamboni it gets off and off the ice, and that sound, that crisp sound, which I'm dying to hear. That you don't never want to take for granted. That sound, because right now we have that taken away from us as we're doing this isolation and social distancing, but nothing beats that sound and the puck hitting the boards, or in warm up when all the girls are in the crowd, you try to hit on top of the glass, the loudest sound. It doesn't matter if it's inline or ice. You know what I'm talking about, Havelock.
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah,
luckily, I don't have to do that anymore because we're both married, right?
Yeah, thank God that's over.
Yeah. Well, inline or ice, we asked you the question in the Facebook Live group, Twitter Periscope, YouTube Live, Twitch, all powered by Nova Product Design from Primetime Radio on the Primetime Radio Network. Now we're simulcasting. Till next time, keep it real, New Jersey. Let's go, Devils.